Come in, come in, come in. Hey, tea sippers. Hey, tea sippers. Another tragedy. Another tragedy.
All of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you all
Come
so
on
much.
in. There
As it
was
said here today, if you
a
do have any information,
target.
just a 1-800-call
Real quick, you can see that northbound flow dramatically better, and then once you get up toward
keep families together, asking law enforcement to not separate families, asking for them to give immigrants due.
That closure is going to be in play for a long time. So I just wanted to quickly reiterate that situation, and then back to the scene of I-35E. Just a reminder, everything closed as far as the service road, and will remain that way as one moves around that Empire Central interchange.
Right, because you think of care flight, you think of helicopter.
Yes,
they have ground units as well.
That's exactly right. But I just wanted to get that information out because it is something that is
Hey,
very
Cynthia. Hey,
significant in
Willie.
nature, it looks like.
All right, thank you for the update. I know you'll continue to update us. We're going to bring in.
Nature, it looks like.
All right, thank you for the update. I know you'll continue to update us. We're going to bring in reporter Sean Rabb now, who has been helping us this morning with gathering a lot of this. As he's doing right now, gathering more information. We heard from an FBI source that that it was a van, an unmarked van, that was transporting many people in ICE custody, and that the van was shot at. What are you hearing right now?
So there's one shooter, as I've been telling you all morning, according to my federal sources. He's on the roof of the law firm building behind the ICE complex, according to my sources. Clear shot into the Salad Court area. This van was an
are gathered here today
Oh,
to discuss
wow.
matters of national importance and to reaffirm our commitment to
municipality, another city, jail, or from some other place that was bringing them in. The van was unmarked. But according to my federal sources, ATF agents assigned to assist ICE, there was an ATF agent driving that van, which could explain the very presence of ATF responding here. Not only that, but of course the whole piece of the investigation into the bullets and the weapon, that's going to fall on the ATF. But this involved at least 2 federal agencies, according to the guy I'm talking with. He, again, one shooter. There was some early initial unsubstantiated reports of 2 shooters, but the gunfire echoes. And especially around buildings, there's an echo effect that makes people believe. We understood this with 7/7. Folks thought there was more than one shooter. There was not. It's that kind of principle.
Also coming from up high, I think that too is really hard for a lot of witnesses to figure out where's the shooter, because it's not someone standing right in front of them too.
Don't miss this far. It's 6:40, 6:45. We are days away from time change. It's dark still. Okay, it's 6:40 now. Because of where we are, the autumnal equinox, all that, where we are related to the sun, it's dark. So it was still dark. So this shooter had the cover of darkness in their favor. They perched there. Whether it was against the drivers, the vehicles, the passengers, we don't know that part yet. But that's what my guy is telling me.
And you talked about this earlier, the vantage point of a rooftop, a sniper. We're here, I mean, you know, we saw this in the Trump assassination attempts. We saw that just, like you said, last week, a few days ago with the Charlie Kirk assassination. There's got to be a frustration with law enforcement when this is happening again from a rooftop. You can't go to every rooftop.
Well, you cannot. And look where they are. This is kind of secure facility here, right?
Yeah.
One Justice Way on the other side. This is kind of a very secure facility, but you at 6:30 in the morning, would you anticipate someone shooting at an unmarked van carrying ICE detainees.
Yeah.
No.
There's no publicity about this, which is why, let me just say this is important, which is why there has to be, especially in the climate we're in now,
Right.
they have to operate with secrecy, not and move people at night, move people under cover of darkness, not broadcast when folk are being moved around. For this very reason, we don't know what people are thinking and doing anymore.
I don't think a lot of people even knew that facility was there. I mean, it is clearly marked, and you can clearly see all the law offices around there. But I think, you know, the majority of people that are driving that road don't even know that's there.
And again, this is where the enforcement resource officers are located. Okay?
Got it.
So they do the boots on the ground work every day across North Texas. That's where they're housed. So that's where they take people.
So we're seeing these live shots from Shannon and Peyton and Steve, and we're looking at these traffic cameras. What can you tell us based on, you know, just what the situation is? You've got far less vehicles on that access road than were there this morning.
Take a deep breath. The threat is over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the investigation just underway, and because you had people die, you know, these kind of investigations, the length and breadth of them are very expensive, right?
Right.
It's going to take some hours out there today. They're going to try to analyze and understand all of this, and again, we do know who this person is. We're not at liberty to say that yet. When they tell us who this person is and their background, then we'll be able to understand whether they were skilled shooters, whether it was luck in the dark, whether they were randomly shooting at the vehicle or at the building or at ICE, hoping to strike an agent. We don't know any of that yet, but traffic is flowing again. There were probably 100 squad cars out there.
Oh,
earlier.
easily.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, easily.
You even mentioned earlier, and Chief Brown even mentioned this, the expansion of this investigation. So was the shooter working with someone else? Was the shooter part of it? Was there a shooter that had planned something else and then didn't? Or are there other plans?
You got to figure all that out,
A lot
right?
of questions here.
How did this person get to that location? So where's a car? Where's a truck? Where's an SUV? And they're running plates?
It needs to be searched.
Yeah.
You need to make sure there's nothing left behind. Right.
Is
I
it
know.
wired
Social
for
media.
explosion? I mean, all those kind
there's
of
a lot.
things.
Exactly.
So there's a lot that goes into this, and right now there are many different agencies working, all right, in concert.
Yeah.
Dallas Police has the lead because of where it happened.
Right.
Right? There are many different agencies working right now in concert.
I'm curious, are there social media police now? Like, is there someone who's an expert on social media now that, okay, we've got this suspect, now we bring it over to this particular person? Like, is that something now police specialize in the digging on social media?
Dallas Police have a couple of young people, okay, I mean young in their 20s, who the operation
That's
is
the
social
world.
media.
Yeah.
So they are digging to see if there's any postings.
Okay.
And, you know, this could be a person who lived in that world or who did not, you know, based on what we find out about them.
And to your point earlier, you were talking about the on-the-ground investigation. That's probably why we're seeing maybe police dogs. I think it was either Shannon or Peyton had mentioned it. And all of the things that Peyton was mentioning, they're seeing some police dogs, so that would be why.
I mean,
Right?
you have to think about all of them. There have been cases where vehicles have been wired into traffic, right? So houses have been moved. So all of that has to be considered, because now you don't want officers and agents and investigators who are doing that work to stumble on something that takes harm to them.
I'm curious, have you heard about another scene, like where this person might live, or have you heard about another scene right now that police might be at?
So as I mentioned earlier to you, once they know who he is, then they'll know where he's from. And if he's local, there's going to be
right, but you're not hearing right now that there's law enforcement that is already there.
I
Not
can
yet.
tell you that if he's local, they're going to be at that address as quickly as they can.
As quickly as possible. And this is sad. Chief Brown even talked about just the law enforcement end of this, or even just as a police chief, law enforcement leaders, they have to explain this to the community, and this is tough.
Right. And you know, there is, we can admit it or not, but there is some tension in our society. All of us are stressed with these repeated incidents. And yet, here again, and again, we don't know all the motive, who the targets were, but what we know is that people have lost their lives this morning, people are injured this morning, and We don't know if those people were the targets or the agents carrying them that
Right.
van with
We
them.
know a person with a rifle did a lot of damage and hurt a lot of people.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. So we're still waiting for that news conference. Sean, we're going to let you keep working and chatting with your contacts. I know Peyton May is standing by because she's waiting on the news conference. It was supposed to take place at 9 o'clock this morning. They kind of keep delaying it. I know we were waiting for the mayor of Dallas. Have you seen him yet? Has he arrived, Peyton?
No, Lauren, I feel like as time has gone on, there are just even more mounting questions. Reporters are really on standby here, just hoping that we get an update soon. I stepped away from a little bit of, the gaggle of media, just to kind of show you what we're looking at. We're, again, on this side of I-35E. We're at a Burger King parking lot, and just to show you the sheer amount of law enforcement, look behind me here. I mean, this is just, blocking off this parking lot of the Burger King. There's at least 4 or 5 law enforcement vehicles, and that is literally just one side of this parking lot. There's multiple different entrances here as police are waiting to give us an update. We are hoping to see the mayor at some point soon. I can't say whether or not that's going to happen any quicker, but I will say that there is just such a large law enforcement presence here. I mean, as I'm standing here, just within a 5-10 foot radius, I see Dallas Marshals, Dallas Police, Homeland Security, ATF. I did mention earlier that you also mentioned I saw ATF dogs kind of sniffing around this area too. It is a very active scene. While we are waiting to get an update here, we are also well aware that this is a very active investigation. I mean, they are giving us updates at some point that are probably changing by a minute basis, but I will say we did anticipate that we would get something by this point. So those questions really are mounting. We want to know so much more than what we have heard so far about the victims. We have heard that they are ICE detainees. We have confirmed that, but we have not gotten more information. Other than that, we know that 2 of those victims unfortunately died. 1 victim still in the hospital. We know that the shooting suspect did die of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but other than that, that information that we have really been portraying to you, we do not have any other updates, and we were hoping at some point earlier that we would get something else, but I will say that this is really all hands on deck. I mean, there are law enforcement officers all around this area. We are in, a business area. There's a FedEx office across the street from me, a Burger King. I will say there are a few businesses that customers are waiting outside. It's pouring rain, so a lot of the law enforcement officers are kind of standing under some of the awnings in this area, just standing around waiting for what's next, that update, as we are as well. Now, again, we're expecting Dallas Police to kind of take the lead on this press conference, but there are so many different law enforcement agencies, organizations here that I'm sure that there will be other people chiming in as this investigation is so widespread and has a lot of eyes on it right now. Back to you.
Thank you very much. I want to talk with Hannah Battah, who is here this morning. And I know earlier this morning, members of the Trump administration had issued statements through social media, and you've been kind of tracking some of that. What have you learned?
Well, you guys, I have to say, it's not just at the federal level. I know we've been talking all morning long about how this investigation really spans several different law enforcement agencies at the federal, local. We've even heard county judges speaking out about this. And that investigation is also mirroring what we're hearing from authorities and how they say that this is all being handled. Let me make sure I get my microphone on here. Okay, here, I'll just repeat myself really quickly. What I wanted to say to you guys is we've talked a lot this morning about how this investigation has spanned several different enforcement agencies, including at the federal, local level. We've also heard several lawmakers at those different levels speaking out about this. So we want to get to a few statements that we've been seeing this morning. The first one coming from Senator Ted Cruz. He said, quote, "My team and I are closely monitoring the situation at the ICE detention facility in Dallas. We are praying for the swift recovery of those injured, and we are deeply grateful to those brave first responders who rushed to the scene." We also heard from Senator John Cornyn. I know you guys reported this earlier, but this brings about another point that I wanted to speak with you guys about. He said, horrific. While law enforcement investigates, I am keeping everyone impacted in my prayers. He says, he also mentioned that his staff has been in touch with those first responders. Again, he said thank you to everyone who rushed to the scene. And as you mentioned, Brandon, Vice President J.D. Vance also tweeted the obsessive attack on law enforcement Particularly ICE must stop. Of course, now we know that the victims involved in this situation are ICE detainees, not law enforcement at this point to our knowledge. But of course, this investigation remains ongoing. I bring this about to show you several of the other responses that we've been seeing have mirrored what the vice president has said. We also saw similar responses saying, hey, this attack on law enforcement in particular needs to stop. That came from Ken Paxton, a similar one from U.S. Congressman Wesley Hunt, as well as Tarrant County
Good morning,
Judge
everybody.
Tim O'Hara. I think it's
Or
important in these
afternoon.
times that we remember, you know, this investigation is still in its early moments. It's in its infancy. It's going to take law enforcement days, weeks to comb through the shooter's social media pages,
Yeah,
to figure
let's
out
let's
that
get
motive,
let's get
and to figure
updated.
out, I mean, to push off into far.
Always some family and some friends, somebody in a chat room or somewhere.
Hold
Which is
on,
not
let's get
isolated anymore.
updated.
Hannah, we learn from it, and it causes us to reassess what we are or aren't doing in society and in our systems. And we always have hand by now, because surely they have a reasonably good idea who that shooter is. Do you think those warrants are in hand and being executed by now?
I do, and I think that'll be once. I don't know on your videos if you've seen them go into that car yet, but if they do suspect that car's involved in this crime, they're going to make sure that they protect that evidence and that they don't go into that car until they have a warrant. So I think you may get a clearer picture once someone starts making entry into that vehicle that they've obtained
Hey,
the warrants
Janet.
that they need.
Hey, everybody in the
It can
bushes.
be a confusing
Please
time,
hit the like
both
button,
when
double
a
tap your
federal agency comes
screen,
into the city
or
of
hit the
Allen
three
involved in an
dots
officer-involved shooting.
at the top
We
right
know that
on
the
your
task force department will
computer.
respond and initially start the investigation, but they won't be able to get statements from those federal agents that were involved in the shooting until people come down from Washington, D.C. So there's always a timeline and a lag time that takes place in something like this. But I think as important an issue as this is in our country
So it was a
today,
targeted
that
hit.
right now everyone is trying to get this done as fast as they can. But you don't want to avoid steps that would compromise this investigation later on, because there could be other people that are involved in this that will come to trial.
All right. Craig Miller, my friend, thank you for your time with us today.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back after this.
To their lives. He said over the last 48 hours, who were they talking to? What's been their movements? What are they, is this someone who was at one of the victims? You know, so all of that matters. It's how homicide cases develop, and really it's how investigations of this kind develop, because the only way to know, well, about this person who has committed this crime is to go back in their lives.
To retrace those steps and those conversations immediately leading up to this. I mean, this was something that took place first thing in the morning during rush hour traffic. We know this shut down traffic on the highway, which has since reopened. But that crime scene still taped off in what's a very busy area, an area that suspected shooter must have been familiar with. But the question remains about who those victims are and whether they were connected to the motive tying into this shooting.
Right, and we can say he may have been familiar with that area, but remember what we learned about the shooting in Utah? The suspect there told investigators, he told us he had planned it about a week. So to the degree that he was familiar, could be long, could be short. Maybe he worked in that area at some time, worked in that building, or not. Maybe he looked it up and planned this over some days or weeks or months. We don't know all of that yet, but that's something that is going to be learned as they scour the corners of his life.
Hey, Reflections
The other
with
questions
Kimberly.
that we are still seeking answers to are about
Hey,
the building
Denise.
associated with the shooting vantage point and what it is used for, whether that suspected shooter needed access to get through those gates, that remains to be seen. But whether it was an employee of that building, we do believe it was a commercial building, perhaps a law office. But we're still waiting for confirmation on all of those details.
So we know that there are some lawyers in that building, and we know they are immigration attorneys based on their proximity to the ICE office. I have stood in the parking lot of that building and done live shots before, so we know that's the ICE facility there. That's clear. Now, this is hard for everybody. Talking about people have to rethink how every building is blocked off or locked down or secured to prevent anything or anyone from encroaching. Now, this is some of the stuff we've never had to consider in all of our society. What's secure? Cameras, locks, doors, crash doors, one-way entry, those kinds of things is what we've been concerning ourselves with. And so every time there's an incident like this, Hannah, we learn from it, and it causes us to reassess what we are or aren't doing in society and in our systems. And we always have to make some kinds of changes. As you're looking still now at Sky 4 over this investigation, and it is going to be an all-day affair and beyond.
And one thing that's definitely worth noting is over the last few hours, the law enforcement presence has significantly dwindled. Just from 7 a.m. this morning to those calls going out to several agencies responding to now perhaps what's going to be a baton pass off to the leading agency that's taking charge of this investigation. But there you see squad cars surrounding that ICE detention facility as they still have that area blocked off. But as Sky 4 pans out a little bit, you can see at least traffic in that highway is starting to move along steadily. However, that was not the case this morning when that shooting first took place and people were at a standstill. I know Chip was urging people who have the option to work remotely to stay home, as not many people were late to their offices this morning as a result.
Yeah, and just getting some information from one of my federal contacts who's saying that BPD will have to pass along information to the feds, and they will type up all of this to an assistant USA or assistant federal attorney, who then will present it to a magistrate to get that search warrant for the vehicle and for this person's dwelling, apartment, home, condo, wherever that might be, on North Texas or somewhere else.
So this is all going into federal hands, as we suspected, given that it's an ICE detention facility.
Yeah, it's on federal property, and they're going to take it over.
All right. Okay, we are going to continue our coverage after the break. We'll be back right after this.
Dallas ICE shooting.
Injured or wounded in this shooting, and not telling us much more about that other than we learned from the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI, Joe Rothrock, that there were anti-ICE messaging on some of those shell casings. FBI Director Kash Patel tweeted out those cartridges that we could see.
Parkland Hospital.
ICE looked to be.
What can you tell us from there?
The FBI officials, as well as local agencies, shared what they know so far about this investigation.
Hold on, let's catch what this one was saying earlier. Hold on.
There was a massive police presence out here at Parkland Hospital. Steve, what can you tell us from there?
Good morning. There was a massive police presence out here. In fact, we were trying to get over to the scene, but we had to bail off of I-35 just because it was an absolute parking lot. I'm sure Chip's been reporting, and your vantage point may even be better than ours at this point. Empire Central closed at the service road. Again, folks trying to get past this scene on 35. We bailed and came here to Parkland. It is the closest trauma center to this scene, and we can expect that this is where folks will be transported. You can hear probably the sirens behind me. Again, tons of police activity out here as folks race to the scene. As I'm sure Sean just reported, we're talking about 3 people shot who were in ICE custody. A male shooter on the rooftop shot himself when approached by law enforcement. As the rain continues to fall here, I can tell you that very much a fluid situation here, and very much expected that.
So the shooter unalived himself.
We can certainly keep you updated on their condition.
All right, Steve Noviello live there at Parkland. We appreciate that. We also want to check in with David Brown, former police chief in Dallas. He's on the line as well. Former Chief Brown,
Brown.
Sean Rabb mentioned this earlier. I don't know if when you hear this scene or if you've seen any of the coverage here, does this invoke thoughts in your mind of 7/7?
It really does, and thank you guys for having me on. Making sure you can hear me okay.
Yes, we did.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, it really does bring back those kinds of memories. But you guys are hitting all the right points when you talk about it's just such a live situation right now. You really want to eliminate whether there's any other suspects that's part of this attack this morning on the ICE facility, harming 3 people. So that's one of the top priorities for law enforcement right now, to eliminate any possibility that there's others involved.
And
I feel like we would have heard if they thought there was a second one at this point. I mean, is it, and Dallas Police is now moving to say, hey, we're doing a media staging area, we're going to be giving a news conference in a little bit. I would think if this was still a possible active, like maybe there was a second suspect, they wouldn't already be moving to try to get us in a spot. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, but at the same time, this investigation is just starting. So there's a lot of work to do to figure out who this guy is, like you guys were mentioning. Where's his vehicle? Today you got to look at people's social media once you identify who they are, to see what kinds of things have they been posting, to try to give you some clues about motive.
What are these some of the things that you can talk about or tell us that are happening behind the scenes that we don't see on screen, without discussing tactics or anything? But what can you tell us about what's happening behind the scenes right now?
Well, behind the scenes, there's a lead agency. So because it's on a federal facility, will the feds take the lead? Will Dallas County take the lead? Or will the Dallas Police Department take the lead? So that's number one, identifying who's the lead. Or it could be a collaborative where they all kind of work together, multi-jurisdictional leads. But that's number one, because then that prompts certain types of things and resources available. Of course, at some point, they'll do a press conference or a press statement to make sure the public knows. Like you mentioned, by now you would think downtown's safe or the area's safe, but you do want a statement at least at this point. So that's likely being prepared and hopefully sent out soon, so you guys can get a little bit more information. And finally, the investigation process itself. Even though the suspects apparently killed himself, you still have a full investigation to determine not just motive, but just what happened, why it happened, and what types of things this apparent suspect was planning to do. Was this targeted to these particular individuals that were harmed, or was this kind of a blanket attack? We just don't know a lot at this point. It's just the beginning of the investigation.
I'm curious, what do you know about this immigration building? We were told the 3 that were shot were in ICE custody. Do they bring people in there that are in custody? Are they transporting there? Are they held there? Do you know anything about that?
I don't, but if people are being brought in, it's either a federal facility or a Dallas County facility that's a temporary holding for federal transport to a federal facility. So I just don't know the details, just waiting for the statement from police or law enforcement or federal law enforcement to determine all that information.
I also think it's important to point out, this is what you guys train for. This is exactly, and I think with every case we see nationwide, you guys tweak a little bit about your response, or, now we're seeing a lot of these shooters on the roof. I'm assuming that that changes your training some.
It does. Unfortunately, this is our new normal. It is really a sad statement to make. This is the new normal for our country. And apparently, rooftop shooters are a thing. And Sean mentioned this as well. You just have to really prepare for these suspects taking the high ground, which puts everyone else at a more vulnerable position and makes what, normally is, the ground level shooting much more complex and difficult to deal with from a law enforcement perspective.
Yeah, David, we want to kind of update people if they're just tuning in at the top of the hour here. So stay with us a second. We've got 3 people who were shot. Those people were in ICE custody. We've got a shooting detainee, or a person that was the shooter who is now dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This happened from a rooftop. This person was acting in the form of a sniper, shooting down at this ICE facility.
investigation. Let's take a look.
Let me start off by saying that I'm a person who believes very, very strongly in the power of prayer, and that prayer changes things. And so I'm going to ask everyone, please join me in praying for the families.
We need a healing.
The folks who lost their lives today. Pray for the speedy recovery for those who are hurt or injured in what happened today.
I
But
don't
maybe even
condone
more
violence, but
to the
those
point,
people are
we're a country
trying, even
and
when
a city
they
that
trying
needs
to
prayer.
become legal, they
So
were
I'm going to
dragged
ask you
out
all
of the
to join me
center.
also
What are they
in praying
supposed to
for
do?
this city, that we can come together at a time like this, and that we can be there for one another the way we
Oh, this is fire.
another. Help us all get through this very difficult time, not just in our city, but in our country. And that's why I'd ask you to pray for our nation. There's a lot going on right now in our country. A lot of it's confusing. It's a scary time. I've got children. I've got 3 young children. And I'm here to tell you that it is challenging to explain to them what's going on in our country right now. But I said before, and I'll say it again, I believe in the power of prayer to change things. And it can change the hearts of people. It can change this country. It can change this city. So please pray for everyone who's affected by today's tragedy. I also want to say thank you to the Dallas Police Department, and say thank you to the Dallas Sheriff's Department, Dallas County Sheriff's Department, Texas Department of Public Safety, and all of our various federal law enforcement partners who acted so quickly today to make sure that today's tragedy wasn't worse than what it was. So on behalf of the city of Dallas, I want to say thank you to all of you. And you're going to hear from some of those folks later, but I wanted to let you know that we appreciate what you all do, not just today, but every day, to help keep us all safe. And lastly, and this is really important, I would ask all the city of Dallas residents who can hear me right now, let's be patient, let's remain calm, and let's let our law enforcement partners, our police department, do their job. This is an active investigation. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, and I want to encourage all of you to exercise a little bit of restraint and allow them to do their job to help make sure this continues to be a safe city, and that they can help us figure out what happened here today. But with that, I want to say, again, thank you to all the folks who came out this morning from our law enforcement community. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Daniel Como, to speak a little bit more directly to the investigation itself. And with that, Chief Como, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a city officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. And right now, I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI field office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence. To include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart from the ICE Enforcement and Removal Office.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter.
Second time.
At one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you all so much. As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI.
And of course, that was the news conference from earlier. We can tell you now Homeland Security has just released information. 2 of the detainees are now dead. A third.
Okay, y'all, can y'all please double tap your screen? Hit the like button. Double tap if you're on your phone, or if you're on your computer or or tablet. There are 3 dots at the top right hand corner. If you can hit those 3 dots, I would greatly appreciate it. If you can give me a thumbs up.
Is critically injured. So 2 of the 3 people being transported by agents this morning are now dead.
That brings the total dead this morning in Dallas now to 3, including the suspected shooter who investigators, as you heard them say, took his or her own life. This also update comes moments after we heard from Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, who says, quote, "The violence and dehumanization of these men and women who are simply enforcing the law must stop. We are praying for the victims and their families," end quote. Now, we do want to know no ICE law enforcement or ICE agents were injured during this shooting. The 3 injured, now 2 dead, are all detainees.
Yes, and of course, what has to happen now is who this person is, who took his own life, who he is, and then why. And that's the deep dive that's going to take place. Why, as well as for these victims, and their losing of their lives, and who are their family members. I mean, because they were detained by ICE, and some question about their immigration status does not mean that that could not have been worked out through the immigration process. Now they've lost their lives in this violent way, a violence marked, if you want to call it political violence, with anti-ICE messages on the cartridges that were recovered by law enforcement on that roof.
For the second time in a matter of months, a Texas ICE facility under attack. We want to get over to another reporter on the ground. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager is joining us just aside from the scene there. Peyton, where exactly are you right now, and what are you seeing?
Hi, Hannah. Hi, Sean. Yeah, we are right off of I-35. We're on the access road, kind of standing at a diagonal on this ramp, and we have kind of seen that baton being passed from Dallas police now to the FBI. We have Dallas police who originally responded here at 6:30 in the morning to the shooting, but now Dallas police really just providing an exterior and blocking traffic. Again, we saw, I'm gonna have Quincy pan over to the scene that we can see about a football field and a half away. That is where the Dallas ICE facility is. But just within the last 15 minutes, we have seen more FBI investigators arrive on scene. And just within the last few minutes, we did see a medical examiner van pass by us. So this is the scene that we are at, as close as we can get to the front of the ICE facility. We know that there are multiple scenes. We have multiple reporters because we do know that the shooter was on top of an adjacent roof and fired down at that Dallas ICE facility, striking some of those detainees. Again, no law enforcement officers were injured. The FBI not releasing any information about the shooter at this time. I know we have had many questions coming into the newsroom, but no identity has been confirmed by the FBI, and no identities have been confirmed of the victims.
The distance is not a really difficult distance to with a rifle. Took some planning, so not.
Former chief, I think he went to Chicago.
An elevated position. I need to be facing where people come in and out. Took some planning, so not novice, just from the placement of this shooter. Thinking about where to get in, how to get to the roof without being seen. Laying prone, which makes you more stable, more accurate. But the distance is not that difficult.
And when you talk about laying prone, you're talking about on your stomach.
On your stomach.
Right.
Makes you more stable instead of trying to stand or kneel. So there's some level of skill, but you could be someone who hunts and have that level of skill. It's not necessarily military or policing skill, but I would say the distance is not a really difficult distance to with a rifle at all.
Does it change anything that it was dark outside and that it was raining, or do you think that maybe it was close enough that really anybody could have done this?
Not just the rain, the wind. It was really windy this morning. And so the windage is one thing you have to calculate to be accurate with a rifle. So the person had, again, not novice, not amateur, not necessarily professional, but I would say this person had a level of skill, a level of planning, a level of strategy to be able to pull this off and be accurate and hit someone.
And it may actually, the shooting itself about 6:40, 6:45 may have actually happened before that big line of rain and wind came through during morning drive. Either way, he had the advantage because he knew what he was going to do. He was in place. We don't know how long he's been in place yet.
That's right.
We're going to find that out through surveillance cameras, aren't we, Chief?
That's right. So that's the next thing is the investigation, obviously, is ongoing, but it's still early to know how early was he there. What kind of planning went, getting his cell phone, his social media, getting into, people that knew him, getting some witness information from him is going to really be helpful in determining motive.
And there's never a shooter in a complete silo. Somebody knows him. There's always some family and some friends, somebody in a chat room or somewhere.
We're just not isolated anymore. We're connected, interconnected with social media especially, but we all have family and friends, and so it won't take long for investigators to be interviewing family and close associates to this person.
So while that is happening, this is the third or fourth time where we've seen ammunition with messages inscribed, written, printed on them. Your take on that? You hadn't seen that before now, really?
We have not seen that before now. Skilled shooters that's trying to do something untoward, something criminal, want to pick up their brass. They don't want to leave it there to send a message because they're trying to get away with the crime. So this person wants to be known what I'm focused on. Now, we're still not clear what that is. That could be almost anything still right now at this early stage. But this person wanted to send a message. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of manifesto or messaging on their social media.
And I think that also paints an interesting picture, right? This is a shooter who was well aware if you're inscribing messages on bullet casings, on ammunition, then you're perhaps also taking into account the fact that you may not survive this shooting.
That's right.
This is someone who may very well have been willing to put their own life on the line to get some sort of message across.
That's right. And think about this, trying to stir, this already messy dialogue around immigration with that message. So this person had not only bad intentions to harm other people for people, but they also wanted to stir our political division in the aftermath of this.
Yeah, and you have this political messaging as well. Let's go back to the CEO of United Healthcare and the messaging around that, and then subsequent shootings with messages, and then the Charlie Kirk shooting with messages scribbled on the casings. And now we see people saying, oh, this is the way for me to tell my story, even if I'm going to take my own life, which appears he fired his bullets and then turned the gun on himself.
That's right. Very, very hard circumstance for these families. Families who are related to these people harmed don't care about the message. They care about their family member and their own safety. And even the public at large, we could care less about, am I safe? We want to care about our safety, could care less about the messaging. Law enforcement could care less about the messaging. We worry about running toward bullets.
So I guess
running
the
toward
message
harm's
on
way.
the bullets is a
We
new
have families
trend.
as police professionals. We want to survive these types of incidents. So, I would set the messaging aside as something
That has to be a new trend.
motive. Why did he do it? And were there any other people complicit? What I'm focused on. Now, we're still not clear what that is. That could be almost anything still right now at this early stage. But this person wanted to send a message. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of manifesto or messaging on their social media.
And I think that also paints an interesting picture, right? This is a shooter who was well aware if you're inscribing messages on bullet casings, on ammunition, then you're perhaps also taking into account the fact that you may not survive this shooting.
That's right.
This is someone who may very well have been willing to put their own life on the line to get some sort of message across.
That's right. And think about this, trying to stir, this already messy dialogue around immigration with that message. So this person had not only bad intentions to harm other people for people, but they also wanted to stir our political division in the aftermath of this.
Yeah, and you have this political messaging as well. Let's go back to the CEO of United Healthcare and the messaging around that, and then the subsequent shootings with messages, and then the Charlie Kirk shooting with messages scribbled on the casings. And now we see people say, oh, this is the way for me to tell my story, even if I'm going to take my own life, which appears he fired his bullets and then turned the gun on himself.
That's right. Very, very hard circumstance for these families. Families who are related to these people harmed don't care about the message. They care about their family member and their own safety. And even the public at large, we could care less about, am I safe? We want to care about our safety, could care less about the messaging. Law enforcement could care less about the messaging. We worry about running toward bullets, running toward harm's way. We have families as police professionals. We want to survive these types of incidents. So, I would set the messaging aside as something that the investigation will reveal around motive. Why did he do it? And were there any other people complicit with him and getting him to where he is, or that he talked to that should have reported it to law enforcement?
You always have after actions, Chief, in law enforcement. After a big event like this, there's an after action. When that happens, I mean, yes, it's down the road, but what could change about how ICE is doing its work?
First of all, not many people know where ICE locations are. There's no labeling, there's no signage hardly at ICE locations. But I also would say, let's look at the high ground. Rooftop shooters are down, no longer a one-off. Let's look at where our entrances and exits are and where the high ground is. And let's do some surveillance around that and some security measures around that, and maybe even move our entrances and exits so that we won't be exposed to rooftop high ground positions to create another level of safety.
Working as a security consultant, are these conversations taking place for all types of businesses nowadays?
Yes, all types of businesses in all sizes of cities. You would think big cities only.
Yeah, it almost, I'm looking at it being planted too. Yeah,
with
I don't
these
know.
type of situations. So law enforcement
See
need to train
Pearson.
across all sizes and to
So like
include
all of
federal
a
law
sudden,
enforcement, state and local police departments.
Well, and you bring
and
up about an interesting
all
point.
of a sudden, you know, that's what we're hearing. And but from two different angles. One with Charlie Kirk, it was about hate. It was allegedly, supposedly, supposed to be about the tranny comments. Now this is about deportation. So I mean, so do they have a store with bullets with different meanings? You know, I don't understand why they're mentioning these bullets, or why would somebody who is fighting not to be deported would go and write on the bullets a message. I'm just yeah, I don't know if I'm buying that. Two totally different scenarios. I mean, it's all politically rooted. Yeah, they're both politically rooted. But I can't see someone who is not wanting to be deported going and getting special bullets to say, no, I don't want to go. Yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know. And Ted Cruz is already there. Yeah, no.
Conversation too, and it's the polarization when it comes to the topic of immigration across the country.
But I'm listening with my good ear as much as I can.
Years, and for the department here, it's also a local conversation. What do you think the Dallas Police Department's making of all of this?
Well, one thing we're trying to maintain is local law enforcement relationships with our communities. And the immigrant community is a relationship you have to maintain because they're witnesses to crimes, they're victims of crimes.
Yeah, I don't think that the cartel would be in a facility. I mean, it was. They said it was coming from somewhere. I don't know. You know, they're showing them on the rooftop.
Thank you, Mayor. Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received assist the officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. DPD quickly was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation.
The police don't want you to know.
I'm not sure why they cut off Ted Cruz's message.
The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI field office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence. To include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time,
What I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners.
Yeah, but I can't see them going to getting special bullets.
Held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart.
I could see them reacting, but not going to get special anti-ice bullets.
My name is Joshua Johnson.
Now that I can't see.
Field Office Director for ICE Dallas.
It's like the Charlie Kirk alleged shooter had some trans message.
ATF,
No.
and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas.
It seems political to me. Politically staged bullets.
In front of you to talk about a shooter at one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you all so much. As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you. Thank you.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong.
But
It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician
supporting Israel also needs to stop.
rhetoric, demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree, that's fine, that's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe.
Okay, y'all, if y'all want me to continue with the coverage, I need 50 likes. You know, I need for y'all to get the likes up. Double tap on the face of your phone or hit the 3 dots at the top right. What about all the kids being deported to Venezuela? Exactly, Janet. At the top right of the chat section, and then hit the thumbs up. I need the thumbs up. I need the likes up if I'm going to continue past this hour. I need them quickly.
Tragically has real consequences. I hope that every one of us will pray. Number one, for the safety of law enforcement.
Thank you, C.
that are
Pearson.
risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe. And we should not be
Hughes, Akita Hughes,
that inspires madmen to commit evil crimes. Our prayers are with the men and women of law enforcement, and we ought to come together and have some decency across the political aisle to say this violence is wrong and it needs to stop.
Senator, have you been told that immigrant detainees were the victims of today's shooting?
My understanding is the details of who the victims are still being ascertained, so I don't want to go ahead of law enforcement releasing these details. What they have said is that no law
Yeah,
enforcement
it happened
was
today.
injured, and so that's a natural
Early
inference,
this morning.
but I don't know the details.
So I'm not going to go into any more details at this time. We will come back to you when we have more details to share. Again, our goal here will be transparency as those details become available.
I'm
But
going
we're
to
still
test.
in the early stages of an investigation.
You're
Information is
welcome.
still coming in. When we have more details, we will come back to this group.
I need 40 likes.
I'm not going to be identifying victims at this time. The only thing I will confirm at this time is no law enforcement was injured. Certainly you can respect law enforcement's need to make notifications. At this point in time, we're not going to take any questions from law enforcement. Again,
I get it.
I ask for you to respect the fact that this is an ongoing investigation.
But, you know, Trump promotes violence.
I understand. I will, if the victims are the detainees. The only thing I can say right now is no law enforcement was injured this morning as part of the attack. I won't be taking any more questions, neither will law enforcement this time. We'll come back to you later today or in the coming days when we have additional information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let me start off by saying it's created this atmosphere on both sides, and that's what really has to take.
Yeah, and you refer to this as a targeted act of violence, something that presumably was planned out, not a spur-of-the-moment thing, was thought through by the suspect, who we now know is 29-year-old Joshua Yan, as investigators at that point in the press conference hadn't identified them, but as we know through reporting that is a suspect who does have a bit of a criminal history. However, as a 20-year-old, it is not very lengthy, but he has had brush-ups with law enforcement in the past.
So he's 29, and what we know is that back in 2015, he was arrested and charged with possession to deliver marijuana from a half ounce to 5 pounds, placed on 5 years deferred probation. That was the case in Collin County.
But as we know through reporting,
29.
that is a suspect who does have a bit of a criminal history. However, as a 20-year-old, it is not very lengthy, but he has had brush-ups with law enforcement in the past.
So he's 29, and what we know is that back in 2015, he was arrested and charged with possession to deliver marijuana from a half ounce to 5 pounds, placed on 5 years deferred probation. That was the case in Collin County. He got off probation early in 2017. So no violent history, but that's what we know about him, yes.
Yes, we want to take you live out to the scene where we have several reporters, several crews
NBC News Force 1 Jake.
Let's get over to Fox 4's Lori Brown, who joins us live. We see that crime scene tape behind you. I'm assuming there's still officers within your vision who are still working to investigate this crime scene at the moment.
Yes, Hannah, we've still seen a lot of law enforcement officers out here from the FBI, Dallas Police Department, Medical Examiner's Office. Just moments ago, there were some people that were taking some photos of that staircase that you can see there. But I want to show you a big picture of where this building is in relationship to where the ICE detention facility is. So the red brick building across the street from this office building, that's the ICE detention center. So then across the street, you've got this 3-story, pretty large office building with only one attorney's name associated with this particular building. There is a staircase here that the law enforcement officers have been looking at, taking photos of, and it appears that there's no barriers or no locks that would have prevented access from a shooter climbing up and gaining access to that rooftop location. There also is a car that is parked here, and you can see that the hood is up on that, and now the trunk is also open as law enforcement combs through that. This is, as was referenced in the news conference earlier, the second time in less than 3 months that ICE detention centers in North Texas have been targeted. Earlier this week, 15 people were arraigned in the July 4th shooting where a gunman was hiding in the woods and shot an Alvarado police officer. That officer was shot in the neck but survived. And in this case, we are now seeing that it appears the shooter's motive was to target ICE agents because of the message on the unspent shell casings.
Agents, but it was
But
detainees
no law
that were
enforcement
hit.
officers were hit. The 2 people killed and 1 injured, we believe, were ICE detainees, but officials have not yet confirmed that or given us the identities of those victims. And the shooter took his own life, and we have seen folks from the medical examiner's office out here at this building. So we will continue to stay at this location and keep you updated on what develops here. Hannah.
Okay, and Laura, Sean here, we thank you for showing us that image because now we know that they have search warrants in hand. They are in that car. We see the evidence technicians taking pictures. We see the trunk is popped. None of that was happening earlier because they were waiting to have the search warrants signed so they could carry those out. We see that happening now. Also, on that right rear quadrant of that Toyota, and I had alluded to this earlier, is a poster of some sort. And on that poster, I have people telling me there's a drawing, a map of like the United States with some parts of it filled in, like maybe coverage areas filled in, and say, do you know how many people have been exposed to nuclear radiation since 1957 or something like that is the message in the text that's on that sign. More confusing at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and from the people who you spoke with that have knowledge of this supposed poster on the side of the car, is it something that was taped on, or is this some sort of sticker that's on the car at all times?
I'm not able to answer that. It appears to be a poster, but I'm not able to answer that specifically.
Whether this was placed there for this shooting for investigators to then find.
What the person who sent it to me said is this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't make
not only does
sense.
the poster not make sense, but today it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense, right? I mean, still piecing together things. We showed that ammo clip from earlier with the marker writings on it. I'm not sure how that connects with the poster left on this vehicle of interest, this Toyota Corolla that, yeah, you're right, up until this point, investigators
No officers were
haven't been
hit,
able to
and the
get
poor
into it, but
victims
I'm sure
haven't
now
talked
that
about
they
it.
are, we'll hopefully
Okay, y'all, I need y'all to hit the like button if y'all want me to continue to roll with this special
And you
report.
mentioned the shell casings that have been posted by FBI Director Kash Patel, those bullets, that ammo with that message, anti-ICE. Again, sources telling me those appear to be Mauser cartridges used in a rifle, that type of ammunition. And of course, we know that a rifle was used in the attack.
Right, and we had suspected that, and now they had confirmed that. Okay, we have another reporter on the scene, Fox 4's Peyton Yeager. She joins us now. It looks like you were in a different spot from where you were earlier. Peyton, can you tell us where you are and what you're seeing?
Hi, Hannah. Hi, Sean. Yeah, we moved a little bit closer to the Dallas ICE facility. We are off I-30, but as the scene starts to break down, we are trying to get as close as we possibly can. I know that Lori Brown, she's kind of off on the back end by that rooftop, you know, where the car was parked, where the shooter opened fire. But I'm more on the public side. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of people who are driving down I-35, looking off to their right at the Dallas facility. So this is about as close as we can get. We have a few Dallas police vehicles who are outside, parked along this frontage road, this access road that is still shut off. Now, some people are coming through if they're able to navigate through some parking lots, but for the most part, it's Dallas police trying to keep people
Hey,
from
Max,
going through.
Max,
So this
Max.
access road is
Thank
still
you.
shut off as they have this investigation taped off. But this is more of the public side, as you know, people are driving through the day
So
on I-35.
they wrote on it like with a
Federal agents are still on scene at their command post,
Sharpie.
but that is starting to break down. So I know this investigation now going on 1:15 in the afternoon, 7+ hours. Like Sean
So
mentioned, you know,
anybody
this is
could have
really
wrote that.
shifting toward the suspect, those search warrants in hand, trying to find a definite motive. But for this on
And look who's over it. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Because as we know, this is a huge
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. We know he lies, and we know he's a stager. So he put this out here. Cash Patel. Yeah, yeah. Yep. See, Pearson. Yep. Now we have a better understanding.
Jay Gray is live there in Dallas for us. Jay, you've been following this from the start this morning, and moments ago we just learned the identity of the shooter.
Oh no!
What do we know at this point?
I've watched some of all of them.
Vicki, it is a 29-year-old Joshua John. We are told. Still trying to find out more information, but that confirmed through multiple law enforcement sources to NBC News. Again, 29-year-old Joshua John. We don't know anything about a criminal background. That's something we're going to have to develop as this continues to unfold. We can tell you that the Department of Homeland Security has said that the shots were fired indiscriminately at the building by John from a nearby rooftop. He was firing at the ICE building and sprayed that facility. One of the witnesses says there was as many as 20 shots fired. And during that time, he hit a van as well as the detainees that were being moved from that van.
So why would he hit detainees?
Were hit, 2 of them
Listen,
died, the third
why would he hit detainees? And I thought that the former Chief Brown said that there is no indication that it's an ICE building or immigration or what have you. Well, that's not true. I've never seen it in Dallas, but yeah.
Critical condition right now at a Dallas hospital. No law enforcement was hit during the attack. And then the gunman, of course, turned a weapon on himself. They're continuing to investigate exactly what's going on. As you can see behind me, Vicki, this area is still locked down and will be for quite some time. Law enforcement from multiple federal agencies as well as Dallas police on the ground is a part of this investigation. We hear that it was a targeted investigation, that from the FBI on the ground here, saying that this shooter...
FBI by way of Cash Patel. Yeah, yeah, immigration is pretty bold to me. Yeah, where is this? I mean, now that we see Cash Patel name all over the place, right here, I promise it makes me look at this totally different. Totally different, because now that his name is attached, that's why I was like, man, whoa, that was awfully early for Ted Cruz to already be, you know. Last time the flood went on in Texas, he was somewhere out of town and it took him days to get there. This time he's right on the scene for the press conference. Yeah, sounds pretty staged. And one bullet got anti-ice on it. Yeah. I'm not going.
About a criminal background, that's something we're going to have to develop as this continues to unfold. We can tell you that the Department of Homeland Security has said that the shots were fired indiscriminately at the building by John from a nearby rooftop. He was firing at the ICE building and sprayed that facility. One of the witnesses says there was as many as 20 shots fired. And during that time, he hit a van as well as the detainees that were being moved from that van. We know that 3 of the detainees were hit. 2 of them have died. The third in critical condition right now at a Dallas hospital.
No law enforcement was hit during the attack. And then the gunman, of course, turned a weapon.
Yeah, they
on
said that they've
himself.
been
They're
using
continuing
it,
to investigate exactly what's going
the
on. As you
first
can see behind me,
process,
Vicky,
to
this
see if
area,
they're going to
is still
be
locked down and will be for quite
held
some time.
and moved to another
Law
facility
enforcement
or
from
let go.
multiple federal agencies as well as Dallas police on the ground as a part of this investigation. We do hear that it was a targeted investigation, that from the FBI on the ground here,
Targeted
saying that this shooter
investigation
was,
or a
at the
targeted
time,
hit?
targeting ICE.
Jay, give us a sense of what happens
So
at
why
this
did he
ICE
shoot
facility, who's
detainees?
coming, who's going, and give us more of some context, really, because there was a recent bomb threat also against ICE agents
I need
at
30
this
likes.
particular building.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just about a month ago that there was a bomb threat called into this ICE facility. The person who called that in was arrested. I can tell you that it's a field office, so it's not a detention center. It's not where people stay behind bars. It's a place where they are processed and moved through, and that's apparently what was happening this morning, that these three men had been arrested. They were being moved inside the office when the shots were fired. It's also a place where people do routine checks. They have to check in with ICE. Immigrants have to go there as part of their moving forward towards citizenship. And so that was happening this morning as well. In fact, we heard from someone who was there just for that cause. She had dropped off her husband. She was in the car with her 9-year-old when the shots were fired. She tells us that they dove underneath the car and the shots continued to ring out. She was then approached by a Dallas police officer who grabbed her and moved the family inside the ICE facility where there was apparently chaos. Everyone inside there ducking down behind a desk and trying to protect themselves as best they could. But this is a field office, so it's where those meetings take place every day, Vicki. It's a spot where they're not holding anyone, but everyone comes through.
Yeah, people are going to their appointments as required by law, and others doing their work. A very scary situation today. Jay Gray live in Dallas. Jay, thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember,
Oh,
stay
wow.
updated on breaking.
You guys, I need 30 likes. I was going to see what he was saying. Did he say something different here?
You've been working from home, but your roommate just took up
Oh,
percussion
I'm
as a
about to
hobby.
shut it down.
Indeed.
And you're looking at the podium there. This is at an ICE facility in Dallas, Texas. This is because of a shooting that happened earlier today around 7 a.m. Dallas time. You can see some officials there standing next to the podium. We are waiting to hear from them to give us an update as to exactly what led up to the shooting.
So it happened around 7 a.m. I wonder was the other two guys.
So that's a natural inference, but I don't
try to detect.
That he shot.
Scott, good to see you again. We appreciate you.
That they
making time for
arrived
this very
together.
Serious and a deadly situation. I want to ask what your takeaways were from that news conference we just listened to.
Yeah, the FBI special agent in charge in Dallas had perhaps the most impactful update there, saying that this is a targeted attack and that there were anti-ICE immigration and customs enforcement messages. The FBI director, Kash Patel, a few moments ago, posted an image on social media of a shell casing that had the words anti-ICE on them. So this is evidence from the scene posted by the FBI director pretty early in the investigation, mind you, that would reinforce what the special agent in charge said. I wish you could scroll down that social media post to see the image. Nicely done. If you go further down, you'll see images of a set of shell casings. There it is. And see the second from the right. The anti-ICE message, according to Director.
Why would not all the bullets say that?
Therein is a bigger issue. Even it transcends this particular attack. These signatures on shell casings, on things from the firings of guns. We've heard that before, haven't we? In the Charlie Kirk assassination, where they allegedly found shell casings with those gamer memes or other messages on them. We've heard about shell casings in the Luigi Mangione case in New York. This type of signature could inspire copycats. Law enforcement has been telling us that for weeks, and you see this now. It manifests itself in another incident today in Dallas.
I think the stage. I think that part of it is staged.
It does seem like these suspects, these shooters, are copying each other. I want to ask you, because earlier when we spoke to you, you walked us through security concerns. Can you give us any updates about what we might know about this particular ICE facility where the shooting happened?
Let's speak narrowly first about this facility in Dallas.
Okay.
It's the subject of a bomb threat. A few weeks ago, the person believed responsible is being charged in the federal court in Dallas and has been held since the bomb threat in late August. It's been the site of protests. Not that protests are a danger, but the Federal Protective Service, which is in charge of protecting federal buildings, and the overseers in Congress have alerted that there are more protests in front of federal buildings now, significantly more than there were months ago. Not necessarily a danger or a threat, but it's worth monitoring. But that said, that's one of 9,000 or so federal offices and federal complexes in America. 9,000. There are thousands of Federal Protective Service officers, but you could see there that there's only so much manpower to protect all of these places. The vulnerability of federal complexes, federal employees, including those involving immigration and customs enforcement, have been a profound and growing concern here in Washington that have today broken through.
All right, Scott McFarlane, thank you so much for your analysis. Appreciate your time today. And of course, we want to take you back to that tweet from the FBI Director Kash Patel. Here is what he had to say. He said, this morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing one, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. And we want to show you that photo that we showed you earlier of the evidence, I suppose, at the scene there. We know one of the unspent shell casings, this is from the FBI director speaking, recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. Now, more updates will be forthcoming. These despicable, I should say, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We are only miles from Prairieland, Texas, where just 2 months ago, an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were injured. Please pray for the injured and deceased. Again, that message, that post on X is coming from Kash Patel, the FBI director. In the picture there, you can see that shell casing that clearly says anti-ICE.
Yeah, but I don't know. Okay, y'all, since y'all having a problem with the likes, I'm going to go ahead and end it. I'm going to listen to this right quick, and I'm going to go ahead and end it. You know, I'm not going to continue to roll this if y'all can't hit the likes. I could be working on something else.
We just saw a Dallas police cruiser backing into that area. Peyton was
Let me see this right quick.
blocked off. The area shrinking more and more. Happy to see that traffic is
You too, C.
settling down
Pearson.
the highway. It was a very different scene from what we saw earlier this morning.
And for hours this morning.
For hours. Standstill traffic, pound down rain. I mean, it was quite a bit, but that area seems to have cleared up for the most part.
His background, his writings online, into his possessions at his home, to try to determine the why.
Oh, yeah. I saw them at his house.
Law enforcement procedure here. We've gotten into this a little bit, but the victimology, you've already kind of hinted to that. Also, just putting together a timeline. These are very basics when it comes.
Has so many ICE detention facilities.
Yeah, I
North
saw
Texas,
something about they
quite a
were
few
at
as
his
well.
house.
Coming from Collin County to Dallas makes you wonder what the
Collin County. Pimp name, bye. Go somewhere else. I mean, you came in on negative energy. You didn't speak. Go ahead and just remove yourself today, okay? So I won't have to keep removing your comments. Yeah, I'm not digging your energy. You know, I'm just not. I'm not understanding where you're coming from. Ew, yeah, bye. You don't have to say anything else. Just politely walk back out. Is that okay? Or do I have to take you out? Yeah, let me go ahead so we won't have to deal with you. Y'all say bye to I ain't no pimp. I mean, you know, whatever. Yeah. I saw some. Oh, there he goes. There he
And here
goes.
now is our first look, your first look at the shooter in the Dallas ICE shooting this morning, 29-year-old Joshua Yan.
And you're looking at a previous mugshot of the suspected shooter who, 29 years old today, shot and killed himself after police say he did the shooting,
Wow.
which affected 3 detainees at the ICE facility in Dallas, 2 of which are dead. 1 is now in critical condition. But we now know investigators are combing through a home on Fairview. Even though this shooting took place in Dallas, they now have their sights set in Collin County.
Yeah, they're in the community of Fairview. The blue pickup truck that you see and lots of shrubs and big trees. The home behind that truck is the home that now they have a search warrant for, and they are executing it. And Hannah, a term that law enforcement uses is that they're going to flip that house. And that,
Go through everything. Like
Yeah.
you said, cast that wide net.
yes, they're flipping that house, every drawer, first his room, but then beyond his room, the house itself. If there's a garage, if there's a shed, if there's access to an attic, they're going to go every place in that house, every nook and cranny, looking for anything. Are there computers, iPads, anything, any kind of electronic device? They're going to take those if they're connected to him. They're going to take those. They might very well take a family computer. But whatever they think might give them clues, might yield information, might reveal motive, plan, other people who may have known. They're going to take all of that. By now, they know if this man, this 29-year-old, had any kind of social media accounts. So those search warrants are being executed for access to those social media accounts as well.
Right. And as you were saying, Sean, I mean, it supports what you were saying, that they are combing through everything inside the home, even from Sky 4 up ahead. We didn't see any investigators in a backyard or outside. Of course, we will have continuing coverage on air and online at fox4news.com.
Yeah, stay with us for the Dallas ICE shooting coverage.
That's the house. Oh. They're at the house in Fairview. I'm not sure what they said before. I gotta get ready to go. They're at the house of the suspect in Fairview. Hit the like button, double tap your screen. This is still beginning to feel like, let's not talk about the Epstein file.
We had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter.
This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence.
To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop.
That we've seen from
Fox News alert, a deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas this morning. The FBI confirming 2 people were shot and the gunman taking his life afterward. The FBI also confirming they found unused bullet casings engraved with the phrase anti-ICE into it. No ICE officers were harmed. FBI Director Kash Patel says these politically motivated attacks are not a one-off, and the targeting of law enforcement officers has to end. Here's Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who spoke moments ago at the scene.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in
Yeah,
Texas
this is beginning to
directed
feel
at ICE
staged, I promise.
This must stop. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we could do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe.
Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno here with my co-host, Kaylee McEnany. And also joining us today, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent, Kennedy, host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, and Bill Hemmer, co-anchor of America's Newsroom. Now let's go live to Brooke Taylor on the ground there in Dallas, Texas, with the latest on this tragic story. Brooke.
Hi, guys. Yeah, officials just wrapped up that press conference, and really the biggest takeaway for me was the fact that these anti-ice shell casings were found near the shooter, because there were a lot of questions about who was the target during this attack. I believe we probably have that picture here that the FBI shared where you could see the words anti-ice engraved in one of those shell casings there. So this is up. We're getting new updates by the minute, but I'll break it down for you what we know so far. So the shooter, police say, was at a building next to this ICE facility, started firing into an unmarked van, and we're told from officials that 3 detainees inside of that van were shot at. One of the detainees died, and then the gunman turned the gun on himself, and he was shot and killed as well. Officials during this press conference spoke a lot about the rhetoric surrounding ICE agents, how it has to stop, or you have something like this happen. Take a listen to what they said during this press conference.
This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against
Janet, it's
ICE
an immigration
employees.
building. It's not ICE.
So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives.
And officials
That's why I
say
know it's just
that,
sound
no
staged.
ICE agents or officers were hurt in the shooting, while again the shooter had these anti-ICE messages
3
on the
shot,
bullets.
2.
Instead, he ended up shooting
It's 3
3
dead.
of these detainees. Again, one
Why
of
would
them
he shoot the
has died. And I
detainees
just want to mention, at the same
if
ICE
it was
facility, there was a bomb
anti-ICE?
threat last month, and then 2 months ago, right here in Texas, nearby at a separate ICE facility, there was an ambush against officers where one officer was shot and thankfully survived that, guys.
Okay, y'all, I'm about to wrap it up. I couldn't get 20 likes from you, so I'm about to go somewhere where I'm appreciated. Riot, fence spotted. What National Guard? What is this, Lord?
Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox, where we do want to turn our attention now to the latest regarding the Trump crackdown, courtesy President Trump. Now, security is tightening over in D.C. New fencing continues to go up outside of the White House.
He's scared.
Ahead of a high-profile visit, and it
You
comes
welcome.
as the National
Thank
Guard
you,
remains
Janet.
on the ground in neighborhoods across D.C. Fox 5's Marie Ume is joining us live right outside
Riot fencing. Why you need riot fencing?
With the latest. Maureen.
Huh?
Just seeing this type of security fencing go up around the White House. Let's show you, it is going up again this morning. You can see here the fencing surrounding Lafayette Park, surrounding the White House. Folks can still get in and out. You see the open entrance there, so people can still get in and out. But they're putting this up ahead of elections first and foremost, and then also because we're being told by Secret Service that there's a high-profile person coming into town. We have been able to confirm that that person is Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. He is here for the UN General Assembly and expected to come here to D.C. Later on in the week, and so that's why this fencing is going up right now. Let's take you to video from earlier this morning when we saw the flatbed trucks arriving. They had the fencing on the trucks as well as concrete barriers surrounding the area as well. Again, we are hearing that this is an anticipation of Benjamin Netanyahu coming here to D.C. There is suspected there are going to be protests, is what we're hearing. There is one planned in D.C., another one planned in New York, and so that is why the fencing is up here for security measures.
Israel coming.
Security, no indication how long this will be in place, but for now they continue to go up as the morning wears on. In addition to this, let's talk about the National Guard troops here in D.C. At the same time, they've been patrolling the D.C. area. That has been going on for more. The deployment actually has been extended through the end of October as part of what the government is now calling security and beautification. That means they are here not only to help police, but also to help clean up graffiti and trash. And the numbers suggest that their presence is actually making a difference. In the Fairlawn neighborhood here in D.C. in the southeast area, police say robberies have dropped 67% in the last month. Car break-ins have fallen 80%, and there were no homicides reported during that stretch. But some residents do remain conflicted about their presence here. They don't know exactly what to make of the National Guard troops continuing to patrol D.C. streets. Take a listen to this guy.
What they're doing, I love it.
Yes, crime has went down, but it's not going to last forever. We need a long-term solution. That temporary Band-Aid, that sword's not going to heal up.
So you're hearing the two sides really of this whole issue with the National Guard troops. On one hand, people do like them being here. On the other hand, they feel like they're living in a militarized zone, and so there's a conflict and concern about that. Talking about the fencing going up, it does continue to go up. I keep seeing trucks kind of patrolling here down the road in front of the White House. So they do continue to bring fencing up. It's going around the White House. No indication right now how long this might stay up, but if past experience is any indicator, this fencing going up, it could be up for months. We'll have to just see how long this time the fencing stays up. That's it from here in D.C. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Fox 5's Maureen Ume, thank you so much there for your reporting. We'll keep in.
So because Israel, Bibi coming. Yeah, and he knows that a lot of people think that Netanyahu unalive his partner, Charlie Kirk, for real. And he, this is your president. We told y'all he didn't care nothing about, oh boy, losing his life. Didn't we tell you? Now he putting up a fence to protect him, because he really know how people feel. Now I have to wonder, what are they planning? Oh, wow. We got to be honest. We never know with them two. We never know. I just feel like everybody's lying. Everybody. FBI, Ted Cruz, President Trump, Israel. Yeah. So, yeah, your president is putting up fencing around the White House because he's afraid. He's afraid for his life.
Is Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel.
He wants war, absolutely.
The General Assembly and expected to come here to D.C. Later on in the week, and so that's why this fencing is going up right now. Let's take you to video from earlier this morning when we saw the flatbed trucks arriving. They had the fencing on the trucks as well as concrete barriers surrounding the area as well. Again, we are hearing that this is like an anticipation of Benjamin Netanyahu coming here to D.C. There is suspected there are going to be protests, is what we're hearing. There is one planned in D.C., another one planned in New York, and so that is why the fencing is up here for security measures.
And he's been accused of being the real assassin of Charlie Kirk.
As the morning wears on. In addition to this, let's talk about the National Guard troops here in D.C. At the same time, they've been controlling.
But in the meantime, where's the files?
Going on for more than a month.
Because Benjamin,
has been extended through the end of
what is it? Netanyahu, he in them files too.
They are here not only to help
Netanyahu, he in there.
And the numbers suggest that their presence.
Let's be clear. I wouldn't be surprised if Ghislaine Maxwell don't mysteriously disappear while everything is going on. Right. Because her boyfriend, he over there in Israel. I be trying to tell y'all that man's still alive. He over in Israel, in that fake Israel where they done took that land and they're not natives. Netanyahu has a Poland real last name. Yeah. And Epstein over there chilling. They still sending immigrants. 600 of them little kids was being sent to foreign countries. They still trafficking. Yeah, she gonna come up missing. And they she gonna be over in Israel with all of the other perverts. Yeah, Epstein over there with long sideburns with kissy curls hanging off under his little hat. I hope y'all understand what's going on right before our eyes. I hope y'all understand that. Please hit the like button. I need 10 likes. I need 10 of them real quick.
In the Fairlawn neighborhood here in D.C. in the southeast area, police say robberies have dropped 67% in the last month. Car break-ins have fallen 80%, and there were no homicides reported during that stretch. But some residents do remain conflicted about their presence here. They don't know exactly what to make of the National Guard troops continuing to patrol D.C. streets. Take a listen to this guy.
Shout out to the National Guards.
I love it. Yes, crime has went down, but it's not going to last forever. We need a long-term solution. That temporary Band-Aid, that sword's not going to heal up.
It is not going to heal.
So you're hearing the two sides really of this whole issue with the National Guard troops. On one hand, people do like to be
Did you hear
here.
Kim Kardashian and her mom are being brought up on RICO charges for allegedly? It's worse than Diddy. I wouldn't be surprised. I know Diddy is trying to hurry up and get out. But before RICO come, before those files, let me tell y'all something. Massey. Shout out to Massey. Massey has let us know that there is a high-profile music cat up in where the kids was trafficked to. He trying to get up out of there before that. Yeah, everybody write that letter. The Democrats have got the seats and the votes to get the files. He know it's coming. He trying to get up out of there. He know Comey is suing. He knows that the truth will be coming out. And he trying to get up out of there. You know, it came up yesterday that the Democrats had the votes with Arizona special election, right? And then today, Texas has gotten hit with ICE. And it really wasn't ICE, it was immigration. Now we got a bullet. So we got copycats. Yeah, right after they got the news that they can get the Epstein file, right? Y'all see how it go? You see how they play? Every time. When it was close before, Trump was getting exposed, some pictures or something was coming out. Charlie got hit. Y'all remember that? Ray J is now saying it was Kim's mom. Oh, I've been knowing it was Kim's mom who released it. Oh, yeah, I've been knowing that. Yeah, so y'all understand that right before it was released, something was about to be released, Charlie got assassinated. This time, they got enough votes to get the Epstein files, and we got this in Texas. And again, normally Ted Cruz ain't already there. How did that happen? It was staged. Yeah, I just mentioned the 600 little girls that they was going to traffic, and the courts had to stop it. We just got to stay woke. We got to pay attention to what's really happening right before our eyes. And they want us to think that it was targeted on top of a roof. Okay, here we go, on top of the rooftop. So was it on top of the roof? So how was the detainees on top of the roof? So where did it happen? Was it inside the facility? Or were they on top of the roof? Because there was no sniper aiming at that. They said that he shot 2 detainees and then he unalived himself. And we just have to believe it, right? We have no evidence. We just gonna believe it and we gonna run with it. Right? I mean, because this is what stage propaganda looks like, y'all. Yeah, wake up, people. Where's the yellow tape? Where's Smash? I saw it on Smash this morning. Where's the yellow tape? Where's the outline? I mean, and why are they all on the roof when it happened inside the facility? I thought they said that they was just arriving to the facility. So where did the roof action come in at? And when Smash the Topic got there, he said they really didn't say nothing. I got 215 votes, but nowhere near 215 likes. How does that work, y'all? Y'all gonna make me shut it down. It don't matter how nice I try to be. And then somebody take their like away. Okay, I'm gonna get ready to go. Yeah. They said this was at
They are. If you want to try to get over there, somewhere to get necessary? Oh, so I'm on time. Yeah, you're right. I won't be in your way. Hold it for you? No, I'm gonna hold it. I can be right here, man. I ain't in y'all way, right? No, I'll be just tucked in a little bit, but you. Okay. Yeah. What's going on, Bob? I look like I'm starting Medicare. What's going on, Bob? Man, I thought I was late. It was so hard. Listen, guys, it was so hard getting this.
Vice President, I can't see you. Over here. Yes, sir. Vice President, thank you for taking questions from us, and thank you for visiting Concord. You referenced the awful death of Irina Zarutska. I'm just curious, have you had the chance to watch that awful video that was released by Katz, and what your thoughts are after viewing it?
Well, yeah, you know, I've honestly seen a lot of gruesome footage, some involving my friends over the last couple of weeks. But the footage of Irina getting stabbed to death is very hard to watch. And I have not seen the whole video from start to finish. I had to cover my eyes for part of it because it is so gruesome. And maybe I should just stare at it. Maybe all of us should stare at it to know the kind of evil that we're actually confronting, because what happened to her was really, really disgusting. And I think it comes from a deep and dark and evil place that exists. Thankfully, in a very few number of people, but those people we ought to lock up in prison so they can't get anybody else. But when I saw that video, you know what really got me as a father? I've got 3 little kids, 2 boys, and my youngest is a baby girl. She's 3 years old. She is the apple of my eye, as you dads will know. Daughters just have an effect on us. They get away with more stuff. They don't they?
They do.
It's kind of annoying, actually. She gets away with things she should not get away with, that her brothers would never get away with. But I look at this girl who's 22 years old, and I think to myself, you know, I would love for my daughter to have the kind of life where she never has to worry about that. And there's this moment where she looks up at her attacker and she covers her mouth, and you realize what's going through her head. She knows that something very terrible has happened to her, and I hope that she didn't realize it for too long, because that is unimaginable suffering. But if you're a man, I don't care what skin color you are, I don't care whether you're rich or poor, but if you're a man and you see the pleading eyes of a girl looking up for protection, then we have to protect our girls and our women in this country. Public safety. The reason she knew I could go across the street and play in the park in safety and comfort is because we had something in this country, and that was a recognition, Democrat and Republican, that we stood with law enforcement and we stood with their mission. It didn't matter what your political affiliation was. We wanted to support people who kept our communities safe, and that's something we've gotten away from, because a lot of the people who report on the news, a lot of the people who actually make policy in Washington, D.C., let's be honest, they are wealthy people who can block themselves off from the consequences of the policies they impose on the rest of us. Now maybe they've never had to call a police officer because they can call a private security guard. Maybe they've never had their home broken into because they live behind a gated community. Maybe they don't have to worry about walking down the streets of a city safely because they've got a driver in a big fancy car who can take them from point A to point B, but that is not true of the gross majority of our citizens. So I want to tell you, when I talk about protecting the American dream, when President Trump talks about fighting for the American dream, at the very top of that list is fighting for your ability, whether you're rich or poor, to be safe in the home that you love. It is our sacred obligation. It's their sacred obligation, and we're going to work for it every single day. God bless you. Thank you for having me. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to. We got a beautiful baby over there. How you doing, ma'am? Yeah, I would like to. I wanted to say here, first of all, we're in this incredible hangar, and it belongs to Dennis and Kay Yates. Where are Dennis and Kay at? Where are you guys? Thank you all so much. Thank you guys for having us. And of course, we're also thrilled to be joined by the hangar's previous owner, Jack Rouse. So Jack, thank you so much for building this thing and for having us. It's good to be here. Now I'm joined by one of my favorite former Senate colleagues, and that is the great Senator Ted Budd from North Carolina. Ted, thank you so much. A very good guy. And I assume we have some other Republicans in here, so are we going to send Ted Budd, a great fellow senator, and Michael Whatley from the state of North Carolina? Now, Michael Whatley, I got to know, he was the RNC chair. He was a great friend of me and of the whole administration during the race. But Michael loves the state of North Carolina. He's going to fight for law enforcement. He's going to fight for law and order. He's going to fight for good jobs. He's going to fight for North Carolinians and North Carolinians and nobody else. Michael Whatley, God bless you, man. Thank you so much for being here. We've got Congressman Addison McDowell. Addison, where are you? Stand up and be recognized. Thank you, Addison. All right, this is your first term, right? Are you happy what you signed up for? That's good. Okay. Let's be honest, he couldn't say no, even if he wanted to, but he loves serving the great people in North Carolina and Washington. He does a very, very good job. And then I also want to give a shout out to Mark Harris. Mark, where are you? Please, Mark, you're a great guy. Thank you for everything. But I want to just say that being here in North Carolina, we're here to talk about law and order. We're here to talk about law enforcement, and we're here to talk about the basic fact that you all pay your taxes. They go to safe streets and safe cities. You ought to be able to enjoy the places that were built by your tax dollars. You ought to be afraid the criminals ought to be afraid of you. You ought not be afraid of the criminals. It's very simple. And I think for too long in this country, we actually took the exact wrong approach. We told people that if you were walking down a city street and there was a crazy person over there yelling and screaming at your kids, you ought to walk to the other side of the street rather than possibly be accosted by a violent person. Well, you know what I think? I think that if a person is being violent and threatening to young children and young families, they ought to send their asses to prison instead of telling people that they got to cross the other side of the street. Now, and Ted is going to be mad at me. Ted is a good Christian man. He does not cuss. So, Ted, forgive me if I get a little fired up sometimes when I'm talking about this. Look, I've gotten in arguments with people before. You know, a couple years ago, I took my family to New York City. This was when I was in the United States Senate. We spent a few days there. It was a wonderful trip in a lot of ways. But, you know, every time we went to the subway, I'd have one of my kids grabbing onto my leg or afraid because there was a crazy person yelling, hollering, and screaming at a 3-year-old little kid. Why do we live like this? Why do we accept this in our communities? And the answer is because of bad political leadership. We've accepted for too long this idea that we ought to give over our streets to criminals and to vagrants and to people who are screaming at us instead of taking back our streets with our incredible law enforcement. And there are so many things that we can do. You know, in Washington, D.C., the first 2 months that we surged the National Guard, that President Trump surged the National Guard into Washington, D.C., there were no murders. Not a single murder for 2 weeks in the streets of Washington, D.C. And you know, we have all these world leaders who come. And we'll tell them, you know, we haven't had a murder in Washington, D.C. in 2 weeks. And these world leaders will look at us and say, is that supposed to impress us? Like, that doesn't sound very good. But, you know, to Washington, D.C., which averaged last year a violent murder every other day, 2 weeks without a murder was a hell of a track record. And then we just surged the National Guard to Memphis, Tennessee. Again, a Democrat city in a red state, but where the mayor said, we are sick of our people being afraid to walk safely on the streets, so why don't you help us? And that's our basic attitude in the Trump administration is, look, we should not allow people to take over. We should not allow these violent criminals to take over city streets. And if the local government wants our help, if the local authorities want our help, then we are going to help them because we stand for American safety everywhere, whether it's a big city or a small one. Thank you, young man. So this is what it means. Being pro-law and order is actually not that difficult. There are some things we do, some issues we address that are so complicated and so challenging, but supporting our local law enforcement is actually pretty easy. It's just a question of political willpower. Here's thing number one, very simple. If our great police officers find a violent criminal and lock them up, we ought to keep them locked up instead of letting them back on our streets with a slap on the wrist. That means we want to give our police officers the very best equipment and the very best protection anywhere.
You know, I'm not going to lie. I'd rather listen to him than Trump.
And we're going to fight every single day to make sure that they have it.
This is the first time I've listened to him.
It means punishing state and local jurisdictions that restrict your ability to do police work. If they just want to do their jobs, they ought to be allowed to do it. And it means pursuing enhanced sentences for violent criminals. Like
your president
who murdered that poor innocent girl in Charlotte, North Carolina just a couple of months ago. And I want to talk about her for a second because I think it's cool. We got a beautiful baby.
This is my first time listening to him.
Yeah, I would like to. How old is she?
Which is worse, him or Trump?
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing her. We want law and order for her above all else, right?
We want law and order, starting with the president. Get him out.
We all know a couple weeks ago, and it's one of these things that got bumped out of the news because of the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. And so
the Epstein files. The Epstein files.
He was a great guy. He was a great husband, a great father. He believed in two things, I think, above all else. Number one, the second most important, is he believed in political debate in the United States of America, that we ought to talk about our disagreements and not attack one another.
Now we noticed that Ted Cruz just said that, right?
And the second thing he believed, and it was the most
Ted
important,
Cruz just
is
said that.
he wanted to be a Christian evangelist. He wanted to bring the gospel everywhere, and he saw connecting with people and debating politics as an opportunity.
Open the
to talk about his
Epstein
faith.
files.
And I think it's important to honor him by recognizing that this is a kid, and he died at 31 years old. This is a kid who every single day, he would go to these college campuses, he would talk for 3 hours with anybody about whatever they wanted to talk about, and he believed in the civic virtue of open debate. He gave his life to protect that civic virtue, and he gave his life serving that civic virtue at the highest level. He was a great guy, and his loss was the nation's loss. And Erica, we love you. Erica's his beautiful widow. And I think you all will join me in saying that what happened to Charlie was disgusting, it was unacceptable, and it is the most anti-American act of violence that we've seen in the last couple of weeks in this country. It was a disgrace. But thank you all. We got
Oh, come on.
a beautiful baby over there. How you doing, man? How? Yeah, I love you. Erica's his beautiful widow, and I think you all will join me in saying that what happened to Charlie was disgusting, it was unacceptable, and it is the most anti-American act of violence that we've seen in the last couple of weeks in this country. It was a disgrace.
But it wasn't the first time. That's not the only situation or unaliving that meets that merit. But it appears to be the first one that was so eye-opening to a lot of people. I just don't understand, what was different. Was it because it was right before our eyes? On a college campus? This is not the first time something like this has happened. But why is it getting so much pub? I'm beginning to believe that, again, it was staged. Because now everything is riding on the back of Charlie. But we still want the Epstein files. I mean, that is very important. I don't understand. Yeah, I'm not getting that. Yeah, that part I'm not getting. People losing their jobs and can't speak on him, and it's like almost like these people thought he was Christ or something. I don't. Yeah, okay. I mean, sorry for the family, sorry for the loss, but he's not the first.
Thank you all.
And what made him so special?
I appreciate that.
Because I need to know what made him so special. Because the reality of it is that, what's his name, Benjamin Netanyahu, this wasn't his first time coming to the U.S. Why do they need to put up fencing now? Why was Charlie Kirk taken out after questioning the Epstein files and wanting them to be released and confirming that, yes, Trump is in them? He all over the place. And that what he thought was going on in Israel with Benjamin Netanyahu, Bayou, wasn't legit. And then when he refused the offer and refused to come sit down and go over there, he wasn't crazy. He was like, oh, hell no. And I'm asking questions. Oh, no, I would never come back. Yeah. Then he mysteriously gets assassinated. Now Trump needs to have fencing put up around the White House. Why? Why? Why the taxpayer paying for that? Why you scared? Huh? Why are you scared? All of a sudden. You scared that truth coming out. You scared that once them files are exposed, because they got them votes yesterday. Shout out to Arizona. Yeah. Oh, hell no. Now you finna start wetting on yourself again. You finna have to double up on your diapers. Yeah. Shit running all down your leg. Yeah. Let's keep it real. This stuff is staged. But it's still not going to erase the fact that Charlie left clues that his life was being threatened by Israel, by the same man, that little man who really is not an Israelite. Yeah. Killing innocent kids and women. You bring them to the U.S. and y'all scared. Why? Yeah, ain't nobody falling for these bananas in the tailpipe.
The thing is, it actually bumped out of the news, this terrible
Said,
story.
spill the tea.
Here's the basic summary, as far as I can recall it, is you have a violent criminal who's been arrested 14 times, often for very...
And it blows my mind that y'all talk about career criminals, somebody who's been arrested 14 times, and your partner behind you, has 30 plus felonies. But his is okay. So how can you really preach law and order with a crooked president? I mean, I just think you should call the campaign something other than law and order. When your president breaks the law, he feels like he can stick his hand in people's undergarment because he's famous. He feels like he can put minors on planes in foreign countries that he probably done made deals with. Yeah. And he's trafficking right in front of our face on taxpayers' dimes. Do y'all understand that our money is being used to traffic minors, kids, grown folks? Because we have a crooked career criminal in the White House. And it's okay. Why is it okay? Why do we give him a pass, but we don't want to give no other criminal a pass? Come on, people. What is wrong with us? Hi, Tony. Why are we okay with Trump being a career criminal? But this is supposed to be the office, the cabinet of law and order. Liar in order. Lie in order.
Violent offenses, who gets on a bus with an innocent young girl, 22 years old, and slits her throat, and she dies. She died because she was coming home from work. She worked at a pizzeria.
Rest in condolences to her.
Beautiful family. She had a young boyfriend. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Sad.
And she was actually a refugee from Ukraine. So she came from a war-torn country. She sought shelter in the United States of America, And because of soft on crime policies, she was murdered here, not in the war-torn country she came from. Isn't that a disgrace?
You can't say what you want to say.
Incredible law enforcement officers who arrested this person 14 times. They did everything that they could to keep this thug off the streets, and it was the political leadership that failed, and we got to be honest about that. I saw former Governor Cooper say, and this is Michael Whatley's opponent, former Governor Cooper said just a couple of days after the attack that we have got to do more when it comes to law enforcement to keep people like this off the streets. And my response was, Governor, he was arrested 14 times. Law enforcement did their job. It's time for you to do your job. And it's so amazing to me, political Democrats, I don't think it's all Democrats. I actually think most Democrats want what most Republicans want, which is safety in their communities, but they always manage to turn issues of crime
No, these
into a
mofo
distraction
pictures
about
piss
race.
me
They
off
always
so
try to
bad.
say that law enforcement locking violent criminals up is inherently racist. And I got to be honest with you, that's an insult to white people. It's an insult to black people too. Because all of us just want to live safely in our communities. It doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. But I actually, because of these Democrat talking points, I went and looked at of violent criminals in our communities. Democrats want to let them out of prison, and Republicans want to put them in prison and keep them there so that all of us are safe in the process. I think that's common sense, don't you? In the United States of America, and because of soft on crime policies, she was murdered here, not in the war-torn country she came from. Isn't that a disgrace? And isn't that an insult to the incredible law enforcement officers who arrested this person 14 times? They did everything that they could to keep this thug off the streets, and it was the political leadership that failed, and we got to be honest about that. I saw former Governor Cooper say, and this is Michael Whatley's opponent, former Governor Cooper said just a couple of days after the attack that we have got to do more when it comes to law enforcement to keep people like
Democrats.
this off the
He
streets.
always blames
And
the
my
Democrats.
response was, Governor, he was arrested 14 times. Law enforcement did their job. It's time for you to do your job. And it's so amazing to me, political Democrats, I don't think it's all Democrats. I actually think most Democrats want what most Republicans want, which is safety in their communities, but they always manage to turn issues of crime into a distraction about race. They always try to say that law enforcement locking violent criminals up is inherently racist. And I got to be honest with you, that's an insult to white people. It's an insult to black people too. Because all of us just want to live safely in our communities. It doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. But I actually, because of these Democrat talking points, I went and looked up. Do you know that in most big cities, the gross majority, over 90% of violent crime is committed by fewer than 1% of the city's residents? This is not a black-white issue. This is, we've got a small percentage of violent criminals in our communities. Democrats want to let them out of prison, and Republicans want to put them in prison and keep them there so that all of us are safe in the process.
I don't know about Democrats want to let them out. Your homeboy, I think Republicans didn't want to put your homeboy in prison.
So I also going to talk a little bit about another law and order problem. I said Charlie Kirk's assassination was the most political and disgusting violence that we've had in this country in the last couple of weeks. And that was true maybe until this morning, because I don't know if you all have followed the news, and we're still learning a little bit about it. But what we know is that in Dallas, Texas,
Yeah, this was
an ICE
staged.
facility, an immigrations and
This
customs
was
enforcement
staged.
facility was opened fire upon by a violent left-wing extremist, a person who wrote anti-ICE messages
Left
on their
String
bullets. And
Apprentice. Here we go, y'all. Woo! When did that come out? When did that come out? We've been on here 2 hours and 19 minutes. When did we hear that? What in the hell? What? Listen, Vanessa with the eyeliner on. Girl, quit lying. Quit lying. That's why it was staged. See, Pearson, if you still, that is why it was staged, to be able to say it. That's why Patel put them bullets like out there like that. That's why it did not make sense. So all of this shit is staged. Never once did we hear anything about what political side he was on. He just lied. We have been all the way around on this today, and no one, not one time, said anything about it being left or right. But them bullets did not make sense, because ICE was never targeted. It was the shooter who unalived himself and 2 detainees. This clown right here with the Maybelline eyeliner on. Yeah. Sit up here and said he was a Now I can't listen to nothing you say. Yeah, now I can't listen to him, y'all. I gotta shut it down. I cannot listen to him because he just lied. So now we're going to hear it. We're going to hear it. So now that they in this, now we're going to hear here we go again without any evidence. The propaganda has been dropped. It started with Patel and them dang bullets. Now here come Vanessa. Yeah. You lying and saying it was left. You did that. Y'all did that with Charlie. Then you found out that he really wasn't. His family, his granny said all of them, whole family, a mega. Then you came up with a fake letter. Oh my God. The plot is, it just keeps getting thicker. Now we find out that what's Ned and Bayou. I cannot stand his name, y'all. Y'all haven't figured that out yet. Coming to town. I want y'all to stay woke. That's all I'm going to say. I'm finna go. I can't listen to him anymore. Y'all have to listen to him on your own, because he lying. And no one has said that. Where did he get that from? So instead of Trump dropping the lies, it's his time to put his mouth on the lies. Everybody got to suck the lollipop. Everybody got to put it in their mouth. Everybody got to lie for the sake of mega, knowing good and dang well that Charlie was asking too many questions about the cover-up, and that is why he was unalive. If he was unalive. Yeah. Yeah, because now we're hearing that was a projection. We're hearing all type of stuff now. The propaganda is real. The propaganda is real. So before we go, let me put the shooter, alleged shooter, picture up. They showing it again, and then I'm gonna go. I can't listen to him, y'all. If y'all want to hear him, y'all gotta go. Y'all gotta go find him yourself. I cannot. I will not. And he is lying. I cannot. And talking about law and order. First, stop lying. Y'all lie too much for me. Shamia, okay, well, what's your point? Don't come in here talking about Israel as if with that Israel name, because the Israel that God is talking about in the Bible ain't Benjamin Nutmeg. That Israel is not who he is representing. So stop that. I don't know what your point is. That is not the same Israel.
Is a lot like.
And I know you know that. So we're not going to play like that. And if you come over here with that fake foolishness, with that fake Israel that was created in 1948 by the Rothschilds, I'm going to remove you. Because we're not going to play like that. We don't play like that over here. Acting brand new. Yeah, that. Okay, yeah, but I asked you what's your point, and you said it's in the Bible. What? I mean, never mind. Never mind. Yeah, in your name. Yeah, I don't know what your point and purpose is. I don't know what you're trying to say. That's why I asked. So you think Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israel he represents, is the same Israel in Genesis? If you say yes, I got to get you up out of here. It's not talking about the Israel. That Israel is long and gone. That is not what the Bible is talking about. It is not saying kill the people. It is not saying that. That is not who he's talking about. He's not even an Israelite. He's from Poland. So what are you talking about? He is a career criminal who has stolen the identity and a Hebrew name. What are you talking about? You following a man. You're not following the word. What are you talking about? That is not his heritage, his nothing. That is not even his name. He don't even speak the language. So what we not finna do is come over here and try to change me. I'm gonna get you up out of here. Yeah, I'm gonna get you up out of here. Yeah. Bye. Y'all say bye to the fake Israelite. Say bye to him. Bye bye. Bye bye. We're not gonna do that. I don't know where it's at now. He tried it, didn't he? I just saw the picture and I don't know where it's at now. So I am about to, I just saw it too.
To get set up and to get settled so he could bring us the latest from what he's.
So, I mean, he tried it. Yeah, no. Boy, bye. There we go.
We're following out of Dallas at a shooting as 2 detainees were killed. Another in critical condition.
Detainee, not ICE.
The identity, the name of the shooter in this. I want to put up here on live now from Fox as Joshua John, a 29-year-old, has been identified in this Dallas ICE facility shooting. So obviously we're following this very closely, and we had comments about anti-ICE being written on some of the bullet casings. So obviously big news in terms of this, and some preliminary information about who this individual was there as the 29-year-old Joshua John, ties to North Texas and Oklahoma, identified as the shooter there. 2 people were killed in the shooting. The suspect also deceased. The investigation ongoing. Police not yet released the motive of the shooting, but you heard there Vice President J.D. Vance alluding to.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna say with J.D. Vance over there. This must be a Fox thing. What is a Fox thing? We're not gonna We're not pushing that. That's why it's always havoc. They be lying, create narratives, starting stuff. So they not. There you go. Yeah. They are the initiators. They are the initiators. Pushing the narrative that the immigrants need to be sent wherever they want to send them, to be tortured and all of that. Same thing with Bibi. Same philosophy. Yeah, that's why he coming. So y'all can push the narrative, start a war, continue to send the people, immigrants, traffic them, foreign places, to be used and abused. Yeah. So this is the alleged shooter, 29-year-old Joshua Jan, J-A-H-N, with ties to North Texas and Oklahoma, has been identified as the suspect in a shooting at a Dallas ICE detention center. Bye. Okay, y'all. Have a good one. This is a setup.